Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Texas Hockey Podcast. My name is Trevor Neal. I am here with my co-host Travis Tyler. How are you doing today, Travis?
Not gonna lie, man. Your boy's pretty exhausted today.
Yes.
We're forcing our way through this.
Yes. We apologize for a little bit of a gap between episodes. Someone may went on a little bit of a trip that was pre-planned. But we're here. It's the off season, but the Stars couldn't let us have an easy off season, could they?
No, I wouldn't want an easy off season.
No, that's a great point.
Easy off season means no show.
Yeah, an easy off season means no show and nothing's changing. And change is what happened. It was announced last week that Pete DeBoer has been relieved of his duties as the head coach of the Dallas Stars. That came from Jim Nill. He did a really interesting press conference just after that we're going to get into. But the Pete DeBoer era of the Dallas Stars is officially over. 3 seasons, 3 conference final appearances, and 3 conference final losses. This is his entire tenure here in Dallas. And it feels, if you would have said this to me 3 weeks ago, that Pete DeBoer is going to get fired at the end of this playoff run, I don't know if I would have believed you. But after the way that Game 5 against Edmonton went, I think a lot of people went, yes, now feels like let's cut this clean and move forward.
Yeah, it felt like a natural stopping point was provided to the team, and a natural out for Jim Nill to make a change was there for the taking, honestly.
I think to kind of break down kind of how the DeBoer firing went down, we kind of have to go back to what happened in Game 5 between the Stars and Oilers, which was the last game of the season for us. Congratulations to the Oilers yet again. But Ottinger sees 2 shots, lets in 2 goals, and is yanked very aggressively by Pete DeBoer. Some very negative post-game answers. I don't really know what to call what happened post-game after Game 5. A lot of people have described it as throwing Jake Ottinger under the bus, saying that he's given the sample size to show that he's not capable of beating the Oilers. And that sent fans into a frenzy, because if there's one thing Stars fans love, it's Jake Ottinger. And in the eyes of a Stars fan, he can do absolutely no wrong. And to throw him under the bus did not land well at all, and sent the whole franchise into a panic.
Yeah, and you and I said on that post-game show that, hey, you might have just put the final nail in the coffin for his career, or not for his career, but for his time in Dallas, and turns out it was.
Yeah. Now, we'll get into more of it later, but Nill said that the comments and the locker cleanout day comments didn't play a huge role in the firing decision, but it definitely was part of the decision-making process to move on from DeBoer. Locker room cleanout day was an opportunity almost to clear the room, and I think after locker cleanout day, no one felt better. Nobody. It just kind of felt like there's a few problems that I had with DeBoer during that locker room cleanout. One, he doubled down and at the same time kind of walked it back, the decision. And I had a lot of problems with that, because I want decisiveness. We're going to back up the decision. I needed to spark the team, the open conversation, to put him back in the second. But I needed to spark the team, so I pulled him. Okay, that was your decision you made in the moment. It feels wrong to me to then go, well, we were talking about not starting him the game before, and he also had this upper respiratory thing. It feels like he knew that he made the mistake, and he was trying to rationalize the mistake. Do I believe that conversation happened? Most definitely. But why then did you throw your goaltender under the bus immediately following the game in the elimination?
Right.
You see what I mean? I have a lot of problems with how that went down.
Well, yeah, and sitting in the press conference room while he said that, the first thing that came to my mind was, he feels like he's over-justifying and over-explaining his call here.
Yes. All you had to say was we wanted to spark the team, and we thought the way to do that was pulling him. And on top of that, we had reason to believe that Jake was struggling. You could have said that after the game, but we got this exactly this over explanation and this back walking or taking it back and also doubling down. It just felt like a lack of control over the situation. And I don't think the decision, Jim No really said over and over and over that this was such a difficult decision to make. Travis, I'm not going to lie. I don't think it was. I don't think that. I think it.
I do. I do think it, because you think about what he said. You think about where this team went from where they were before Pete DeBoer was there to 3 straight conference finals. They've even said, during their media availabilities and their press conferences or whatever throughout the Western Conference Finals, you don't know if you're ever going to get back to this point again.
Yeah.
Some players never make it there in their careers to begin with. Some players get there every year, like Corey Perry, pretty much. Yeah. But the important thing to do is to get the results and win when you get there. And they got to the point where they needed to do that, and they didn't get over the hump.
No. And Pete DeBoer has a history of getting to that exact point and not getting over the hump. And just go ahead.
Yeah, well, and then to further that, Neil said in his press conference, and I'm sure we'll get a little more into this, but he noted that they don't want to go backwards. Like
no, he's very adamant.
Very much
that is part of the decision making.
There's very much a possibility that you can go backwards when changing the coach, and I think those two elements of it and those two aspects of it were what made it very difficult for him to do that. Other than the fact that it seems like they had a great personal and working relationship too.
Yeah, but on the other
never
side,
easy to fire a friend. Obviously.
Yeah, exactly. There's obviously a very close-knit relationship between those two. And they did create a great product. But there's one thing that I have to say that leans towards that decision, kind of rationalizing it more. Look at what's happening in the Stanley Cup final right now. High octane, the 2 most talented teams in the world are going at it. The Stars are not that. There's a gap.
Yeah.
There's a big gap. And it's we're in the offseason, so we can say these things. There's a huge gap between a team like the Stars and a team like the Panthers and Oilers.
And they tried to address that last year, and it didn't work. So they're back to the drawing board.
Yeah, you're back to the drawing board. I love how open Jim is going into this. But I want to double back. Just one more thing on Pete that I wanted to bring up, just about his history. We talked about a little postgame. This is not the first time this has happened to Pete DeBoer. A firing directly following throwing a goalie under the bus. And I'm
goalie at that.
2 of the most liked goalies in the world. And my thing is, if you're looking for another job, if I'm the goaltender, I don't want to play for him at all.
That might be a little extreme right now, but I get where you're coming from.
But look at the 2 goalies he's thrown under the bus in the situation.
Right. Yeah.
There's a history there. No other coach has done it to the level that Pete has, and it's happened twice. It's a conversation that's going to happen. How does Pete view goalies? He can go into a press conference and say, I'm a bigger fan of Jake Ottinger than anybody, goalie and person. He said that. I don't know if you like goalies, Pete. I don't think you have I don't think you know how to navigate that relationship as well as some other coaches, because it's difficult. Because you got to be hard on them, but you got to keep them happy. It's a goalie. It's all between the ears. So I just think it's an interesting thing to look at, that this is not the first time that throwing a goalie under the bus the way this has gone down. It's not the first time it's happened with Pete. Alan Walsh, who is Marc-Andre Fleury's agent, tweeted the famous picture of the sword with DeBoer's name on it going through Marc-Andre Fleury's back. And he tweeted a picture again. I think it was him, or it may have been someone. No, it wasn't him, but someone recreated it with Ottinger.
Yeah.
I don't know. If I had a nickel every time this happened, I'd only have 2 nickels, but it's weird I have 2 nickels. It's one of those.
Well,
is it a huge story? Go ahead.
And each team chose a particular side each time.
Because this is what it comes down to.
It's been on the boys' side every time.
Okay. Coaches are insanely important in the National Hockey League. They are. There's a huge difference between bad coaches and good coaches. But I'd rather have a bad coach and a good goalie than a bad goalie and a good coach.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Isn't stopping the puck.
No, we love Pete. Pete is a great coach, and everybody throughout this entire process has stressed that they still believe Pete is a good coach. I've never seen a coach get complimented so much after being fired.
Oh, yeah.
It was weird.
As Jim said, a lot of coaches would kill for that resume, and he's not wrong.
Yeah, but it's such an interesting situation. Moving on from this, if you have to pick, a goalie's insanely valuable, especially of Jake Ottinger's caliber. Having a coach like Pete DeBoer is extremely valuable, but it's not close. That decision's always going to go to your franchise goaltender, even though this is such a rare situation. But, we keep talking about the Nil press conference. He talked to the media for a little under a half hour just after the firing. I believe it was like a 2 to 3 hour turnover between announcement and we're meeting.
Yeah. It was about 2.5 hours, I'd say.
Yeah. And we both complimented Jim Nil handled this like a champ.
Yeah.
He steered the situation the exact way that you want to see a general manager with as much experience as he does. He was very uplifting. It was a very happy press conference, considering the situation brewing around it. I don't know if that's
the right word, but considering all the components of it and everything, it was
not somber at all.
It was much more positive than you would think a firing press conference would be.
Yes, it was. Not happy, but positive. There was laughs, and Pete seems optimistic they're going to go in the right direction after this. One major talking point was avoiding that step back, and that's something we talked about after the Game 5 episode was, okay, if we fire DeBoer, what's saying you get better? Because the standard for the Stars right now is conference final.
Yeah.
That is what we
expect. My argument for keeping him. Who are you going to get that is going to push you into the Stanley Cup final realistically?
Yeah. And the answer to that question is very simple. We're going to get into it more later. Don't worry. But the answer to that is we don't know. We don't know what the answer is. Nobody knows.
They don't know yet. I thought one of the best things I saw over the weekend was somebody tweeted at Tim Cowlishaw of the Dallas Morning News asking him who the new coach was going to be. And his response was, I don't know and they don't know.
No.
It's very, very obvious. Very concise in exactly what's going on right now.
Yeah,
nobody knows.
This coaching search is going to be so interesting because what do you do to improve a team that's gone to the Final Four 3 straight times and is third in the NHL in playoff wins over the last few seasons and has this long stretch of deep playoff success? What do you do? Who's your guy? Because it's not like Paul Maurice is available. Paul Maurice is staying put. You're not going to get a coach like Paul Maurice in June. They're not available. No. The firing of DeBoer, it's like, okay, a lot of the head coaching jobs, like a guy like Mike Sullivan is perfect. Those types of guys are gone.
Yeah.
Already.
Yep.
I don't want to call it bottom of the barrel by any stretch of the imagination. I think Jim Nil is way too creative for it to be a bottom of the barrel coach search.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But don't be surprised if this decision takes a bit. But unfortunately, he's got a draft in about 2.5 weeks.
Yeah.
So and I think that is it safe
time, but hurry up.
Yes, is it safe to say that decision has to happen before June 20 something, whatever it is? I think you need a coach.
I would imagine, yeah. You want to have a coach and know what your playing style is. Though,
what are you drafting for?
Even though this team's not really building through the draft these days. It is, but it isn't.
But in a perfect world, you're hiring a coach this is always the intention. It doesn't usually go this way. But your intention is to hire a coach who's going to be here long enough that he has to worry about those things.
To be up there, yes.
So you need his input. You just also just want to know, because draft day is a huge day for trades as well. And it's a week after the draft that free agency opens.
Yeah, free agency is the next week. So
it's this decision needs to happen quickly.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, we don't have a short list. Everyone's like, man, who are the guys?
It's a long list because he intentionally said that he's going to look at a wide net, cast a wide net.
There's a bunch of places that you can go online and you can read betting odds for next Stars head coach. I don't have any inside information, but I feel confident in saying those lists aren't going to tell you much.
We should stress that we are not insiders. We
this is all speculation
sometimes, but we are not the people who are going to be texted by anonymous sources saying, "Hey, it's this guy or this guy."
No, that's not happening here.
We don't have any inside information other than what we've heard in press conferences.
Yeah, my gut is what's telling me.
Yeah,
and just the vibe of what's going on right now. It has to be a wide net. And my weird little take is if it's not our AHL coach, who's done really, really well. I've been preaching Alain Nazardine on and off since the DeBoer conversation started. I'm just a big Alain Nazardine fan. I've seen what he's done in the past. If it's not like one of those top guys, I don't want to know the name. I want it to be an off-the-board guy. We specifically talked in the press conference, and Jim No made it clear that he was open to talking to European coaches because the mass European influence on this team.
Before they hired Pete.
Yeah, this is how I wish we know who or knew who.
That would have made it a lot easier to go track down some European coaches.
Yeah, what leagues do I need to be looking at? Am I just looking at the Finnish league, or do I have to look at like
SHL,
the Italian?
KHL? What do we got?
Yeah. It's such a wide net in this coach search. There's some really fascinating names. First one, Manny Malhotra is a really big name that's kind of coming up in circles. He's currently coaching the Abbotsford Canucks, the American Hockey League affiliate of the Vancouver Canucks, who just unfortunately defeated the Texas Stars in the Western Conference Final. So, and we're going to get back to the Texas Stars because they have a coach as well that we want to talk about. But Manny Malhotra is a guy that's really proven that he is one of the up-and-coming minds in the National Hockey League. He was with the Leaf system for a little bit, really impressed, kind of moved over, is the head coach of the American Hockey League team, obviously doing quite well, playing in the Calder Cup final. And obviously he's one of the newer minds in hockey. Yeah. He's part of this newer wave that's coming up. I'm not going to say Kyle Dubas era of NHL executives because I think that's too broad of a term, but those very much forward-thinking minds that people lump a name like Dubas and a name like Malhotra comes in there as well. Just these very young, forward-thinking coaches, which is something that Jim Nill talked about, is looking for someone who's a little bit more open-minded.
Yeah, he said he was going to keep it open-minded. Malhotra is also a guy who played for the Stars in the early 2000s. So that tie-in works really well. He was part of those teams that it was after the Cup years, but Madonna was still around. I believe Bill Guerin was still around.
Damn good team.
Those really good players. I believe Marty Turco was the goalie at the time when he was playing. Malhotra didn't do much on those teams, unfortunately, but he did continue his career after those, and he has been to a Stanley Cup final as a player with the Canucks. Yeah. So that's a little feather in his cap for Stanley Cup final experience, for playoff experience, for the just being familiar with the Dallas franchise. And what he's been able to do at the AHL level puts him right at the top of the list, and that's just a reason why some of these betting websites have him as the betting favorite right now.
Yeah, I don't really think there is a favorite just yet.
No.
But if we're going to name one, he's probably towards the top of that list. You do have to pry him from Vancouver.
Yeah.
But fortunately, if I was like, oh, do I want to keep working towards being the head coach of the Canucks, who are not in a good situation whatsoever and seem to be a little bit mindless with what they do most of the time, especially over the last few seasons, or do I want to jump ship and go to the Dallas Stars? I don't think that's a hard pry. I really don't. he's lived here. I mean, he did play for the Canucks as well, but it's him being in the Canucks system won't stop him from coming, is what I think I'm trying to say.
No, I don't think any system should stop a guy from becoming a head coach somewhere else.
No, unless they've been prepping you for the perfect head coaching job, which just doesn't happen. Like sometimes you'll see that with a GM. It doesn't.
And usually
really
that doesn't work out so well anyway.
No. But I think the name that you're thinking really heavily for the head coaching job, you're a Neil Graham kind of supporter. It's looking like at the moment.
I don't know if I'd go that far. I think it sounded like he's a very strong candidate for the job. Mm-hmm. And if you look at what he's been able to do, I mean, Jim Nill pointed out he's won at the AHL level with the Texas Stars, with teams full of their top prospects, but also teams like this year who are fringe NHL guys, AHL veterans who really don't have that tie-in talent or whatever, and are just prolonging their careers, for lack of a better term. Mm-hmm. And he's also, I mean, he's only 40 years old, which is a huge boost there. And if you want to look at continuity and relationships, he's got relationships with the guys in the locker room. He's got relationships with the Nasruddin and Spot and the rest of the coaching staff from being around them and being around the team. And he's familiar with the system, and it would just make a lot of sense to, if you're like making a quick turnaround hire like that, it would make a lot of sense to pull somebody who's already in your system. It's just, he's highly regarded in coaching circles from what I hear. So it wouldn't shock me if he was the hire. Like we said with Malhotra, there's a reason these guys are at the top of the odds list. Yeah.
So there's to me, there's two sides of the Neil Graham thing. One of them you kind of brought up, but Jim Nill pointed out the fact that he coached teams that were prospect heavy, guys like Maverick Bourque, Leon Bichelle, that he was able to see a lot of success with. Even a guy like Stankoven had a lot of success on the Texas Stars. And now he's coaching a team that's entirely different. It's guys fighting to not even be in the NHL, just to keep pro hockey around. Towards the end of their careers, are just guys looking for any job, and he's got success with that as well. The downside I see to a Neil Graham hire is we talked about getting a new. He didn't say the exact words, but almost a new set of eyes. He talked about how much
he talked about he wanted a different voice in there, and that's another thing that kind of. Not to interrupt your point on Graham, but that was something that kind of hesitated me about any of the assistants on the staff too. It was like,
does it fix it?
Right. His argument was, well, there's a difference between having a voice as an assistant and having a voice as the head coach. But to me, it's still the same guy in that locker room. I don't think that's enough of a difference for me to put it over the top, and that's why I wouldn't go with one of those guys. And that's why I definitely see the hesitation with Graham in that situation. Also, there's no guarantee he can put you over the top. I mean, he's never been an NHL coach.
I think he's a safe bet that I don't think the Stars will get worse under Neil Graham.
Right. It's kind of a consistency hire where you're like, okay, if it blows up, we can move on rather quickly from this.
We can clean entire regime.
Yeah.
If it doesn't work.
Yeah.
But there has been success of even guys in the system coming in for an entire new voice. If you go back, it's forever ago now, but Mike Johnston was the head coach of the Penguins. They got Phil Kessel. The team is not working. They can't score. And you have this three-headed monster of Crosby, Malkin, Kessel, who had just been acquired. It is not working. They fire him in December and bring in Mike Sullivan, who was the head coach of the Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins at the time. Immediate turnaround. So it is possible. Those situations do happen. But teams do tend to keep coaches similar throughout the system. So is it Neil Graham could come in and win a Jack Adams? He could. From the respect that he gets around the league, he's obviously talented. But we could also just see the exact same thing. It's a safe hire, It's a low risk. I'm not going to say low or high reward. It's just a very low risk.
Yeah, it's low risk. I don't know what the reward is going to be.
Yeah, I think
put it. Low risk, reward to be determined.
Yeah, reward to be determined. He's the safe pick. He really is. There are some off the board names if you go on these betting sites. My favorite, of course, Stars fans, John Tortorella will not be coaching the Dallas Stars next year. No, don't have the conversation. I don't know if real people
needing to understand the players. That is the opposite of a player's coach.
Yes, you said it before. If your players don't like playing for Pete DeBoer, and the players made it very clear during the exit interviews, they were not happy. Yeah. Jim said that he didn't lose the room, but let's be real here. He would not have had that room next season the way he did going into this one. So your players don't like playing for the coach. Should you go get John Tortorella, the yelly, angry guy? No. It's at that point just hire Babcock.
Yeah, that's what to say. That's like bringing in Mike Babcock.
You don't do that.
Is the worst move you can make right now.
I think they should do it for the memes. No, they should not. Mike Babcock should not be allowed around.
Get players drunk in practice.
Amen. Yeah. We have this. You could go through the betting lists and all that and talk about each candidate individually. There's some other interesting names that are technically available. I believe Dan Baalsma is still available. And you could say, well, he's won, but that was
there are some coaches that have won some cups. There are some coaches that have won.
Yeah, but
Dan Baalsma, Peter Laviolette.
Mike Babcock's won a Stanley Cup too.
We're not going there.
No.
I think Jim Nill is smart enough to know that is not the hire to make.
Jim,
absolutely. That is the opposite of the culture that you want, that they have and that they want.
Look, it's a scary situation to fire a coach like Pete DeBoer because, like you said, almost every hockey coach in the world would kill for Pete DeBoer's resume and the amount of success that Pete DeBoer has seen throughout his career, even without a cup. But I think it's okay to feel safe and have confidence in Jim Nill still. I think he made some mistakes while putting this year's team together. I think the defense thing was not attacked properly. In retrospect, it could have been handled a little bit differently. We had a stacked one side. We had a side that was extremely vulnerable.
If anybody's actually worried about Babcock coming here, Jim Nill has already experienced that firsthand as an executive.
Yeah, I completely forgot about that.
He is not going to. He is not going to make that mistake.
Stand each other.
Oh, I bet. He is not going to make that mistake.
That's the thing with Mike Babcock, and I love that Babcock comes up in every coaching conversation because you're a Red Wings guy. I'm a Leafs guy. We both have a little bit of trauma when it comes to Mike Babcock. So he
won us a Stanley Cup. He did actually. Well, the team won us a Stanley Cup. That was a pretty loaded team.
I could have coached that team to Stanley Cup.
Yeah,
and I was 6. I could have done that. But Jim Nill is a very smart general manager. He's shown that time and time again that he is amongst one of the league's best. He's one of the most respected NHL executives in the league. He's one of the most tenured, if not the most tenured GM in the league. He's definitely up there. He knows what he's doing. It's okay to trust him in this process.
He's also said that it's not a locker room. There's no locker room issues. He's not looking to shake up the culture.
No, when he said that people have complimented players who've come in have complimented this is a really good locker room. I believe that.
He doesn't. Yeah. Oh, you can tell just being in there. And I don't think they want to mess with that at all.
No. I've seen some people talk about, do the Stars tear it down and move on to something new? No, this is a very talented roster.
Yeah. If the next hire and the one after that screw up, then but
there's some. I think next year's team does look different just because of the contract situation, and we can kind of get into that. I don't see Matt Duchene coming back. The press conference did not give me any more confidence about that. I do think Jamie's coming back. I think that number they're going to find a number that both sides are going to be happy with. But it's going to be a little bit different next year. Those are two. Matt Duchene's going to be a big loss. He was your leading scorer this year. So it's going to be a bit different. But this is a good Stars team. It's such a weird situation because Jim Nill's sitting there, man. I'm having a coach firing press conference after we just went to the Western Conference Final for the third straight year. Yeah. Not many teams are in that spot.
In the league.
Yeah. So it's going to be a fun offseason to follow with the team. Do you think that – are you looking at the Stars to make the Western Conference Final again? Like, is that your expectation, or do they come back?
That should be the expectation with what they are. Yeah,
good answer.
I feel like I have to reserve judgment to see what the hire is and who they sign.
Yeah, but like it's so weird. To have
sounds like
pressure.
A cop out, but it's just the truth. We don't know what the team looks like going into next year right now. So
not at all. Man, they could blow it up.
Say.
They could. Like I know Taylor said, man, I would trade Robertson. You know, if the right guy's available, just to get something different. Could the Stars use a guy like, you know how much I've crapped on him during the playoffs, a guy like Sam Bennett? Yeah, I would love Sam Bennett on the Stars. But everyone could. Everyone could use a guy like Sam Bennett. And Robertson's a hard guy to replace, too. We learned a little bit more about the injuries that players experienced throughout the final as well. Rupe's foot sounds like the most disgusting foot injury ever. Yeah. Like I heard that, and I'm like, oh, so the swelling was up. That's probably why he missed one game, and they taped it back together. They threw him out there for the next. And Jim's like, no, it just wouldn't stop bleeding. What?
Yeah.
What did they do to that poor man's foot? How badly do you need to slash a player's foot for it to be bleeding for 2 straight days and be broken?
Yeah, that was interesting. I thought it was really interesting. I'm probably reading way too much into this, but the way he said it when he was talking about the injury, he was like, they slashed his foot. It was like
I think it was that
foot, wasn't it? Like what do
where
we got?
Foot meets shin. That's what I'm imagining, and that's why we've heard both. Consistently, it's shin, it's foot. I think it was right on the ankle, on the top of the ankle.
Yeah. I think that's right too. It's just the way he said it. I was like, "Are you?
I don't think we know.
Are you sure what the injury was?"
Did you go in the medical room and they're like, "Yeah, his foot's bleeding," and he's like, "What's bleeding?" And someone just pushed him out of the room. Like he doesn't have much. But he knows, but it's just a weird injury to describe. We also mentioned Tyler Seguin also had a shoulder injury we were not aware about throughout the playoffs. Tyler Seguin just beat the hell up. That's what we learned.
Yeah, he plays injured these days. It's
the age. Tyler, this is the NHL now. Damn. Something's always hurting.
Now you got Mayfield. He's only a year older than me. You're making me feel old.
Yeah, but here's the thing. When NHL players turn 30, they're ancient. Like, how many players even make it to 30?
Yeah.
Let alone what Corey Perry's doing. Corey Perry's a fossil in NHL terms. He's out there at 40 years old. But, Seguin plays through the playoffs. Nil did compliment just how well Tyler Seguin did while playing with a hurt shoulder. Congrats to Tyler. He's going to have a good offseason to rehab. I assume there's probably some pain with the leg still. There's no way there's not.
Oh, yeah. Well, because, I believe they said that he skipped some, mostly unnecessary parts of rehab to get back quicker and then was just going to go back to doing them, I believe.
Yeah, he's just doing cryotherapy is the vibes I get. He is just what numbs it is what Tyler Seguin was doing throughout the playoffs, not what fixes it. So he's going to have a little bit of time. We should see a better version of Tyler Seguin next season with whatever next season looks like. We have no idea who's going to be behind the bench. That's going to be the biggest question over the next 2 or so weeks. Because, like I think I said, that decision needs to come before draft day.
Yeah.
It does. It's weird for me to say as someone who's kind of covering the team at the moment. The draft day is not something as a Stars person that I'm hugely excited for from a Stars point of view. It's not what we're here for, guys. The decentralized draft just means we're just barely gonna care. It's not for us.
Outside those first 4 or 5 picks, you're like, okay, well, that's
no. And it's the Stars aren't gonna be getting any guys that are gonna change the team immediately, or even the next 2 to 3 years. And prospects aren't our thing. But free agency is going to be huge for the Stars. There is some. It's not the. It's going to be a good year for a team like the Stars, I think. Well, I think this is this isn't the best free agent class that we've seen, but it's an interesting one in that we're about to see the cap skyrocket. So what I think that's going to do for a team like the Stars is they don't have to worry about the 7-year deals because no one wants one. Yeah. No one in the free agency thing is signing more than 5 if you're smart. If your agent's like, I think you should sign this 7-year deal, find a new agent. Unless you're like, you're declining. Because if you're a guy that's like, man, even early 30s, like if I'm 30 right now, and I know the cap's going up $10 million in the next 3 years, I'm not signing more than 3 years. I'm getting my bag in 3 years. So I think it could help a team like the Stars who are kind of in the window and don't really want to lock into something super long term. We don't need another 8-year contract, a 7-8-year contract on this team. We don't.
Yeah.
We need 3-year deals. And the Stars are in a position that we might be getting some interesting players. There's some money coming off the books. I really doubt a player like Jamie Benn, who got relegated down to the 4th line, is going to be making $9.5 million this upcoming season. So it gives you so much flexibility. Again, we don't know what we can do with that flexibility until we know what kind of style of hockey we're playing. But unfortunately, the net for coach is so wide. What the Stars are doing is a big question mark. Yeah. That's where we're getting today.
You got some accomplished coaches, some coaches that were head coaches that didn't do anything, the rookies, the assistants, the up-and-coming assistants, whoever they're looking at internationally. Those names are so hard to find. I mean,
I want them to look internationally. I really like that.
I know the big names that keep seeing on social media are Neil Graham and David Carl, the head coach at the University of Denver. He's not coming. He's turned down NHL offers before. I think he would probably leave there if Colorado were to fire Bednar and they needed a new coach for the Avalanche. Yeah. That would probably be the one place that he would go. But I mean,
a lot of coaches just
why the dude's only 35 years old. I mean, we're talking about a coach who was born in 1989 for a head coaching position. I mean, that is crazy. Terrifying. Mm-hmm. But that's where and he's won multiple national championships at Denver, and also took over for former Stars head coach Jim Montgomery there.
Yeah.
So
some coaches, it's more common in football, just like coaching college sports more. Yeah. There's usually, I don't know what NCAA coaches get paid, but at least in football, college coaches tend to actually get paid more than college and NFL coaches. I doubt that translates to hockey as much, but it's a very different style of coaching.
Well, and at Denver, that's their sport too. It's like you're not talking about the University of Denver football team.
No, you are the coach on campus at Denver.
Yeah.
You're the hero.
So that's.
I couldn't even tell you what Denver's team name is. I don't know.
They're the Pioneers.
I believe you.
I believe that's what it is.
Yeah, I believe you.
I tend to be pretty good at that kind of thing.
But he's not coming to Dallas. That's
Jay Woodcraft is another one. It's been thrown out.
Who's the guy who always comes up in the conversations but can't get a job? Wasn't he the guy? Please tell me I'm wrong before I keep talking about it.
Okay, go ahead. Yeah.
Before Knobloch in Edmonton.
Yes, he's the one. He's the one that was hired for Edmonton. Yes.
Here's my reasoning for it not being Woodcroft, because the Oilers were last. They fire Woodcroft, get Knobloch, and it's 2 Stanley Cup Finals.
Yeah, but he also had a tough shake there too. It was a very short stint.
Yeah, but has he proven he's good? Because I don't remember ever.
That's his only head coaching experience, honestly.
Yeah,
he's been an assistant on some pretty good staffs. He was with Todd McClellan. He won a Stanley Cup in Detroit, in 08.
He's been around that long.
He's got the tie-in with Jim Nill there, so that's why he would be in that conversation.
He's getting an interview.
But yeah, I mean, I wrote down there are better candidates, and he's been very limited in his coaching experience. So he's been to the playoffs twice as a coach, made the conference finals one year, and got eliminated in the second round the other year. So not great, but he's among the guys that they keep listing as the favorites for this spot.
He's not. I don't like that resume for what the Stars are hiring for. I think they're either going to go off the board, or they need success.
It's really interesting to see how many of these guys have ties to the Oilers too.
Well, no. There's a reason why, because the Oilers fired their coaching staff every 8 months.
Yeah, I know.
Years. Everyone's coached. Your mom has coached the Oilers. Everyone's coached the Edmonton Oilers.
I'm even seeing I'm forgetting his name, but their power play coach, who used to be the head coach of the Stars before Jim Nill took over, has been mentioned as a name as a guy that they would go back to. And I'm like, I'm not a fan of going back to a coach you already got rid of. I'm not. No, I know Carolina did it with Paul Maurice and won a cup, but or after they won a cup in between or whatever it was.
Yeah.
But none of these guys have proven to be a Paul Maurice caliber coach.
No.
So, I mean, you look at Dave Haxtell, done nothing. David Quinn, he was drafted by the Minnesota North Stars and was Jake Ottinger's college head coach. But that's
if you want to fix that relation, but you're not making a hire.
Yeah. He was also Mike Sullivan's staff and was on the Team USA coaching staff at the Four Nations too.
And that team played hard. Bring that intensity to the Stars, you'll win some games.
Yeah,
for sure.
And yeah, I mean, I don't know where else we go after that. There's a lot of coaches here.
Look, this is the problem. Is we're like, right? Have you ever been to the Cheesecake Factory?
Yes.
You know where you go to the Cheesecake Factory? Like, would you like to pick
an entree? And they're like, stupid question. Yeah.
Yeah. So here's 85 entrees. What would you like? That's what the Stars coaching.
I'll have a salad.
Right
yeah.
Yeah. Getting the salad is getting Neil Graham.
No. That's like Tortorella or Bruce Boudreau or it's one of those.
Hey, Bruce is good.
The ones that have won but aren't going to, shouldn't be hired right now.
The ones who won but won't win again.
Yes,
that's what that list is.
That's the way to put it. Yeah. I mean, I'm looking at this list. There's a bunch of assistant coaches. Todd Nelson was apparently an assistant here and has 3 Calder Cups as an AHL head coach and was the Oilers interim coach at one point, but that's his only head coaching experience. So I would kind of stay away from that. Mark Savard was an interesting name I saw on there, but I don't think he's coming.
It's going to be an off the board hire.
Yeah.
If it's not Malhotra or it's not Graham, expect someone a little odd. Look, the Penguins just hired Daniel Muse as their head coach. Now, I'm not the most familiar on NHL assistants across the league. I'm not going to lie, but I've never heard of Daniel Muse. And he just got a head coaching job. I hadn't heard that name once.
Yeah. But we talked about European coaches with what he mentioned before. Do you think there's a chance they're looking at Finland?
Yes. Well, you're stupid not to. The closer the NHL, the Stars get to just changing their colors to blue and white, I think they get better.
Yeah.
The closer we're just going to get Team Finland.
Yeah.
What is the way to get Barkov on the Stars? What do we need to do because they win the cup?
Yeah. I mean, European coaches are hard to find anything on. There's
no information on it.
I'm looking. I saw the guy that coached Frölunda in Sweden. It's one of Sweden's biggest successful teams over there. He just retired from coaching Frölunda. He's only 53.
He might, but he might.
Do you go there? I don't know. Like Sergei Fedorov, do you try that? That's an off the board hire.
I love it. Sergei Fedorov.
I mean, the dude coached Moscow for 3 years, won 2 championships. It played for Jim Neal front office. I'm just throwing names out here right now.
Yeah. One of my favorite things I saw was the.
I don't see that happening, by the way. I was just throwing it out.
The AI generated image of Joe Pavelski being the Stars next.
That was awesome.
Was very funny to me.
I was like, you know what? You're making a strong argument.
Okay, I want to make fun of it. I do, because that's outlandish. He's not going to be the next head coach.
No, it's absurd.
But I would love to see him as a scout.
It's as absurd as me throwing Sergei Fedorov out there.
No, I think it's going to be really funny.
It might even be more.
Who's the most random coach? Like, let's just give him the job. Give him the job. Who's retired? Marc-Andre Fleury. Make him head coach. Why not? He loves hockey. Everybody loves him. Him and Jake Ottinger can be like, hey, don't you hate that guy? Oh, yeah, we hate that guy together. It works. They win. It works.
Mark Stone's going to retire, and they're going to hire him.
They would burn the arena now.
Yeah, he would.
They would burn that might be the public enemy #1 to the Stars. I really think it's him.
They'd be like, sell the team, move the hell out of here.
Yeah, we're not dealing with Mark Stone. But I think we could kind of wrap up there before we just keep randomly rambling about different head coaches.
I could throw some random names out here. Yeah,
Yager.
Coach
Phil Kessel.
Sweden. Yeah,
throw him out there.
Wayne Gretzky. Yeah.
Oh, no, we saw that doesn't work.
Yeah, we've seen that before. Yeah,
we've seen that one.
We have seen that one.
But we'll come out with an episode when we get more information on the Stars or when the Stanley Cup final. We're gonna keep close. Oh, the Stanley Cup final's going on. That is something.
Florida just scored. Yeah, it's 3-1 Panthers in the second.
3-1 Panthers. Okay, damn. I'm cheering for the Oilers. I almost thought about wearing an Oilers jersey on this podcast, but I figured Stars. It's a little too soon.
I just don't care. Like it's going on.
Okay, this is where one more thing before we wrap it up. I hate the Florida Panthers. I hate everything about them. I hate the way Paul Maurice talks. I hate his refusal to just not bitch about something. Like it's so annoying to me.
If you ain't bitching, you ain't trying.
Well, he's going on this rant about how I was talking to Rob Brindamore about how coaches shouldn't be in the line because we're stealing their moment on camera. Dumbass. Guess what the cameras are on now? Not the players. It's Rob Brindamore looking pissed off at you. That's what stole the show, and that's all you're talking about. That's what Paul Maurice does. I think he giggles before he does every interview. He's like, watch this. And he just says something outlandish, and then the media goes crazy, and it works. Every time. And Sam Bennett is my least favorite player in the NHL.
And yet you'd be on board if he was on the Stars.
Of course I would. Look, Brad Marchand has been in my nightmares for the last 10 years. And people are saying he might go to the Leafs. And I'm so ready to order the jersey. I'm going to get one of the whites. It's going to be gorgeous. I'll get a Marchand Leafs jersey. But the Panthers are looking like they'll probably take a 3-1 series lead tonight. It's still game to go.
2-1.
By the time
2-1.
2-1. Thank you.
It's only
3-1
game
right
now. Yeah.
2-1 series. Thank you. That game will be over before this goes up. But that's happening at the moment. We'll kind of keep a close eye on that. If anything crazy happens, we might do an episode for you. But we'll be keeping a close eye on Stars News. We want to thank you all for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe, follow, give it a rating, whatever platform you're listening on. Please support us, share it. Really helps us out. And good luck. Stay relaxed during the offseason. Thank you for watching.